Welcome back. My name is Matt. This is Hidden Light. Today I want to talk about something called the 80-20 rule, specifically how it applies to photography and gear. Let's jump in. Okay, what is the 80-20 rule? Can anybody in the class tell me? Not you. Okay, moron. The 80-20 rule for me, as it applies to camera gear. So, you want to be able to get, I would like to be able to get 80% of the result with 20% of the cost. Okay? For business, what they say is that 20% of your customers generate 80% of your revenue. That's true. The 80% of customers that generate 20% of revenue, they're still nice to have, but that's a lot of suffering. So for camera gear, right? Let's just establish, let's agree together that the 100%, the perfect, most best camera shooting experience that generates the most best images, let's just say, for the sake of argument, is a Leica. Okay, brand new M6 is fucking $5,000 plus a lens or two or three. Let's call it an even 10 G's, shall we? Can I get 80% of the result that a Leica will give me for 20% of the cost? So for $2,000, can I get images that are sharp on a camera system that has a good user experience with less money? The answer, I think, is yes. And you can apply the 80-20 rule to actually any part of your life or any style of photography or gear or equipment or whatever. You can get 80% of the way there for 20% of the money. And that's what I've been chasing recently. I have been struggling a little with gear acquisition syndrome. Did a video about this where I talked about the whole catch and release thing, and I'm really feeling like I need to catch myself a new camera, probably a Leica. And so I'm trying to talk myself out of that. Trying real hard. And logically, I can do that. It makes sense. I don't need to spend $10,000 on camera shit because my Nikon FM is a great shooting experience, has a simple meter just like a Leica, has incredibly sharp glass, and cost nothing. I got it for free from a friend. Even if I went out and bought myself a nice, minty Nikon FM with, say, a 50mm 1.8, I could do that for like $500. That's 1/20th the cost. Not 20%, 1/20th the cost of a Leica kit, because holy shit, that stuff's expensive. So, in your photography life, whether or not you're playing a catch and release game, it's always good to consider, can I get myself there 80% of the way there for 20% of the money, 20% of the time, 20% of the suffering? Okay, let's talk about suffering for a second. Shooting 8x10, as I am aware, can be a bit of a sufferfest. It's slow, it's heavy, etc. You can definitely get 80% of the way to an 8x10 aesthetic for 20% of the suffering, not 20% of the money. Say you bought yourself a Pentax 6.7 kit, which I've heard of people recently getting themselves a body for $500 and a lens, the 105 2.4, because duh, for another $1,000. So it's expensive. But that combination, the Pentax 6.7 with the 105 2.4, mostly wide open, looks indistinguishable from 8x10 when shooting a reasonably low grain film. And that's one of the reasons that kit is so popular, because it's reasonably portable. It weighs a fair bit, but you can hold it in one hand and shoot and continue walking. You don't need a tripod. You get damn near the same aesthetic. I would say more than 80% of the way to the 8x10 depth of field, just the whole vibe of 8x10. You can get very close to that for way less suffering with the Pentax 6.7. Now, a lot of the lenses for that system are not near as good or near as sharp, or they don't have the same feeling. And so in that case, maybe not. None of the other medium format cameras I have ever shot get me even close to that. But that combo is the reason I'm considering it, or have considered it, or will eventually spend a year photographing exclusively with that combo, because it's so good. It's more than 80% of the way there. You know what I mean? 80-20 rule. Can you get, we talked about this in a different video, 80% of the way to the film look for 20% of the cost? Absolutely. 20% of the suffering? 100%. Does that mean you have to then do that? No, of course not. Sometimes choosing the less efficient route is better. Sometimes that's what you're after, and I respect that. But when I'm specifically trying to talk myself out of spending tens of thousands of dollars on camera gear, this is one of the ways that I say, you know what, honestly, my Nikon FM, my Nikon F6, my Nikon anything will get me 80% of the way to a Leica in terms of result for a lot less money. And then I can sort of like talk myself off the edge and off the ledge? Talk myself off the ledge. And it helps that way. I also don't get divorced for spending fucking $10,000 plus on camera gear. So, you know, yeah, benefits. If you have applied the 80-20 rule in your life, I'd love to hear how, because I'm sort of logically inclined like that most of the time when I'm not being an artist. And I don't know, I'd love to hear your experiences with it. Give us a shout out, comments down below. And if you're the kind of person that says, fuck your 80-20 rule, I'm 100% all the way, Leica, good for you. I'd love some of your money. Anyway, okay, cool. See you in the next one.